Right now, there's a 20-year veteran of deep-sea oil drilling being rejected for a senior engineering job.
Oh, yeah. Happens every single day.
Right, and he's being rejected by an algorithm that took, exactly zero point 0.4 seconds to realize his PDF resume was missing just one single acronym.
It is brutal. It's the reality, though. You can have 2 decades of hands-on experience literally fighting the ocean to pull energy out of the earth.
Yeah.
But if the machine doesn't see that exact 5-letter code it was programmed to find, your resume goes straight into the digital trash.
It's wild. Welcome to today's deep dive. If you're trying to navigate a career in heavy industry right now, whether you're looking at energy, manufacturing, marine logistics, or oil and gas, the rules of the game haven't just shifted.
No, they've been completely rewritten.
Completely rewritten by automation. So our mission today is to chart this new landscape for you. We are pulling from this really fascinating platform document for a system called IndustryMATCH. It's an industrial CV assessment and job matching platform.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is that this document is, well, it's way more than just a user manual for a piece of HR software.
Right.
When you really analyze the data structures it uses, it functions as this real-time map of global industrial evolution.
It's like a snapshot of what matters right now.
Exactly. It shows us exactly what the global economy values right this second.
And we should clarify for you listening that the timeline in this source material, like the 2026 to 2030 hiring outlooks it mentions, these aren't some distant speculative predictions.
No, not at all.
We are in mid-2026 right now.
Yeah.
This AI is actively screening people today for infrastructure projects that are breaking ground tomorrow.
Yeah, so understanding the mechanics of this platform is basically mandatory if you want to participate in this economy.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the core loop of how you'd actually use IndustryMATCH seems, well, deceptively simple.
Right, on the surface.
Yeah. You upload your CV. They accept, like PDF, DOCX, or TXT files.
Yeah.
You pick a specific job from their library, and then the system just spits out a fit score.
But the critical step is what happens inside that black box during the assessment.
The actual scanning part.
Exactly. The AI is specifically trained to extract sector certifications. It is not scanning for soft skills.
So no points for being a team player.
None. It's not looking for synergy or leadership. It is hunting for very specific hard credentials.
Which brings me to the acronyms. The source material is just loaded with them. I want to focus on just one to understand how this algorithm actually thinks.
Sure.
The system is explicitly looking for things like BOSIET. That stands for Basic Offshore Safety Induction and Emergency Training.
Right, a standard requirement.
But I looked into what that actually entails. To get that certification, you literally have to be strapped into a simulated helicopter cabin, dunked underwater, flipped upside down, and then prove you can escape through a window while holding your breath.
Oh, yeah. It is intensely physical life or death training.
Right. So my question is, how does an AI value that? I'd hypothesize that the algorithm doesn't care about the grit or the trauma of the helicopter dunk tank.
Not at all.
It just treats BOSIET as a binary 1 or 0. You either have the string of text on your resume or you don't.
You've hit on the exact mechanism. The AI operates on absolute pragmatism. To a human recruiter, a candidate might say, I don't have BOSIET, but I have 20 years of naval survival experience.
And a human would be like, oh, wow, that's impressive.
Right. The human might weigh that. The AI simply flags the missing compliance requirement and rejects you.
Yeah.
And we have to remember why the system prioritizes these certifications.
Why is it so rigid?
Because in heavy industry, compliance isn't just about HR checkboxes. It's about insurance, massive liability, and international maritime law.
Which brings us to the financials and the ultimate threshold of this platform. It's actually free to create an account and browse the jobs.
Yeah, browsing is free.
But if you want the AI to actually assess your resume, you need a paid membership.
Right.
It costs RM100, which is roughly $25 per year. For that, you get 10 assessment reports a month. But here's the critical part for anyone job hunting.
The gatekeeper function.
Exactly. Think, plus, the company behind the platform acts as the recruiter, and they will only forward your CV to employers if the AI gives you a score of 60% or higher.
That 60% is a hard mathematical firewall.
Yeah.
It's the wall between your resume being seen by a hiring manager and just sitting in a server farm forever.
The way it's set up, it feels exactly like an unforgiving dating app for heavy industry.
A dating app?
Yeah. You upload your profile, you swipe right on a deep water drilling rig or a massive solar farm, and the algorithm just coldly decides if you are a 60% match.
That's actually a pretty good analogy.
But unlike a dating app where you might get away with a witty bio, this algorithm is just scanning for ISO 14001 quality assurance markers.
Right.
And honestly, I'm pretty skeptical about this. Isn't this 60% threshold inevitably leaving brilliant, highly capable talent behind simply because they, I don't know, used a weird font on their PDF or they aren't great at keyword optimization?
Well, yes. That is the structural flaw of any automated gatekeeper. Highly competent engineers are often terrible resume writers.
Exactly.
But we have to look at the sheer scale of the problem this software is trying to solve. Think about a major energy conglomerate transitioning a massive facility to run on green hydrogen.
Okay.
They might receive 10,000 applications for 50 roles.
10,000. Wow.
Easily. And human recruiters simply cannot manually verify if an applicant's STCW, their Maritime Watchkeeping certification, is currently valid, while simultaneously evaluating their grasp of complex fluid dynamics.
The human bottleneck is just too tight.
Exactly. The information overload just breaks traditional HR.
Yeah.
So IndustryMATCH sacrifices that edge case nuance for high-speed verifiable compliance.
I mean, I get it from a business perspective.
But to mitigate the unfairness of the black box, the platform does provide deep transparency to the candidate.
Oh, right, the technical reasoning.
Yeah. Every match generates that 0 to 100 score, but it also tells you the technical reasoning behind the score.
So it's not just a rejection email, it's a diagnostic report.
Precisely. Instead of sending your CV into a void and getting that generic, we went with another candidate email.
I hate those.
Everyone does. Here you get a report that says, you scored 55% because you lack the specific NEBOSH safety module required for this facility.
This is actually really helpful. It turns a rejection into a highly specific, actionable to-do list.
Exactly.
Okay, I can see the value in that. It strips the mystery out of the process. It tells you exactly what the market values. You know, if you want that 60%, you go take the safety module.
Right.
So what does this all mean for the actual jobs? If this algorithm is that ruthless and it's scanning for such specific requirements, what exactly is it programmed to look for right now? Where is the demand?
You're wondering about the specific sectors.
Yeah, because when I looked at the actual sectors driving hiring in the source material, I was completely caught off guard.
You're referring to the prominence of traditional energy sectors.
Yes. We hear constantly about the green transition, right?
Right. Net zero goals, all of that.
Exactly. Yet, the high demand segments in this document read like a textbook from 30 years ago. Oil and gas is still a massive driver.
It absolutely is.
The platform specifically highlights deep water and subsea exploration. It lists liquefied natural gas, or LNG, as this booming sector.
And if you look closely at the refinery and petrochemical side, those facilities aren't winding down operations either.
Not at all, but they are shifting. The document notes they are evolving into, quote, integrated energy hubs.
Right.
So they're hiring for clean fuels production, specifically low sulfur variants. There is a massive spike in demand for sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF, and something called circular plastics, which is recycling at an industrial scale to meet ESG pressures.
Environmental, social, and governance. Yeah, this is a perfect example of how industrial adaptation actually works in the real world.
But let me challenge this because it feels totally contradictory. Well, how does building more deep water oil rigs and expanding LNG infrastructure fit into a net zero timeline? A refinery making sustainable aviation fuel is still fundamentally a refinery producing combustible fuel.
Right.
Doesn't this heavy investment in traditional sectors completely undermine the green tech explosion we keep hearing about?
Okay. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the global infrastructure reality is that the energy transition is a bridge. It is not a light switch.
The bridge.
Yeah. You cannot simply turn off the fossil fuel economy overnight without collapsing global power grids, supply chains, and basically the entire modern standard of living.
So you're saying the bridge is made out of the very materials we are trying to phase out?
In many ways, yes. Take LNG, for instance.
Yeah.
It's highly demanded right now because it acts as a transition fuel. It burns significantly cleaner than coal.
Okay, so it's a step up.
Right. So while renewable grids like wind and solar are being scaled up to handle baseline demand, LNG is used to displace coal and keep the lights on.
That makes sense.
And regarding those offshore platforms you mentioned earlier, the document highlights a massive hiring boom in decommissioning services.
Right, I saw that. But dismantling an old oil rig doesn't sound like a growth industry. It sounds like a cleanup job.
Oh, it is one of the most complex engineering challenges of the decade. You
Really?
don't just blow up a 50,000-ton steel platform in the middle of the ocean.
I guess not, yeah.
You have to cap wells that are under immense geological pressure. You have to systematically reverse engineer the entire rig.
Oh, wow.
You're lifting thousands of tons of rusted, chemically treated steel without dropping it onto a fragile marine ecosystem.
Okay, when you put it like that.
That requires massive capital, elite engineering, and intense HSE, health, safety, and environment oversight.
This makes total sense when you frame it as reverse engineering. It's not just demo day, it's highly technical.
Exactly. The traditional industries aren't just lingering stubbornly, they are actively managing their own evolution. A refinery pivoting to capture its own waste heat, or breaking down agricultural waste to manufacture sustainable aviation fuel that requires an army of chemical engineers. The traditional sectors are literally funding and building the physical bridge to the green era.
The old world dismantling itself and financing its own replacement, that is a brilliant way to understand it.
Thank you.
So if all this capital is being generated by the evolution of traditional energy, where is it actually being deployed for the future? That brings us to the document's 2026 to 2035 outlook.
Right, the longer-term view.
Yeah, this is the pure future-facing segment, and the scale of it is just staggering.
The shift in required skill sets here is dramatic.
We are seeing an absolute explosion in energy and marine, massive growth in solar, and both offshore and onshore wind. But it also highlights small modular reactors, or SMRs.
Which are crucial.
Right, because of intermittency.
Exactly. Renewables inherently suffer from intermittency. The wind doesn't always blow, the sun sets. SMRs are next-generation nuclear technology. They provide that stable, low-carbon baseload power to underpin the renewable grid.
And the job titles emerging from this, I mean, they look like science fiction. The platform is hunting for green hydrogen specialists, battery recycling specialists, and ESG data scientists.
A whole new vocabulary.
Totally. But the concept that completely grabbed my attention in the engineering section was digital twin engineering, alongside smart grid systems.
Oh, digital twin technology is arguably the most revolutionary tool in industrial modeling today.
So my hypothesis on how this works, and tell me if I'm off base here, the best way I can picture it is like having a voodoo doll of a multi-billion-dollar factory.
A voodoo doll. Okay, I'm listening.
Let's say you have a sprawling, incredibly complex chemical refinery in the physical world. A digital twin engineer builds a perfect, real-time 3D clone of that exact refinery running on a server, like playing SimCity.
Yeah.
And every physical pipe, every valve, every pump in the real world has an IoT Internet of Things sensor attached to it, which is feeding data back to the digital clone.
That is a highly accurate analogy, actually.
So, if a physical valve in the real world gets dangerously hot, the sensor pings the server, and the digital valve on the engineer's screen instantly turns red.
Yes.
And if you want to test what happens when you push the system past its limits, you don't experiment on the real pipes where, people could get hurt. You poke the voodoo doll, you run the simulation on the digital twin.
It takes predictive maintenance to an entirely new level.
It's amazing.
You are solving catastrophic failures in a digital sandbox before they ever manifest in reality.
But this raises a massive red flag for me regarding the workforce.
How so?
Well, we're talking about AI-powered energy optimization, autonomous marine shipping, and digital twins simulating entire factories.
Yeah.
If an algorithm is predicting the maintenance and an autonomous system is piloting the cargo ship, where does the traditional hands-on worker fit into this 2026 to 2035 outlook? Are human engineers just becoming like obsolete meat sacks in a digital world?
It's a valid fear, sure. But the source material indicates the exact opposite. Human oversight isn't disappearing. It is scaling up and becoming far more specialized.
Wait, how can human oversight scale up if the machines are running all the simulations?
Because an algorithm cannot turn a wrench.
Oh,
A
right.
digital twin can identify a failing microscopic seal in a high-pressure hydrogen pipeline, but fixing it requires interacting with physical reality. The friction between a perfect digital model and the messy, degrading physical world is where humans are absolutely essential.
So the system still needs boots on the ground.
Absolutely. The document specifically highlights high demand for water and wastewater engineers.
Because water is physical.
Right. Managing the physical flow of resources is inherently analog. You need smart infrastructure engineers to physically install, calibrate, and protect the thousands of sensors that actually feed the AI its data.
I hadn't thought of that. The sensors themselves need maintenance.
Exactly. And crucially, you need those HSE professionals because the regulatory compliance landscape surrounding things like hydrogen plants and smart cities is incredibly strict.
Right. If an autonomous drone crashes into a wind turbine, you need a human to navigate the legal and safety fallout, not just another algorithm.
Exactly.
So the role of the worker is shifting from diagnosing the problem to executing highly complex, specialized solutions directed by the digital twin.
You are managing the physical consequences of the digital simulation.
Okay, we've covered the mechanics of the AI, the evolution of oil and gas, and the rise of these digital twins. Now, I want to zoom out to the geography of all this. Where on the map is this actually happening?
The regional focus is key here.
Right, because the IndustryMATCH document heavily emphasizes one specific region driving this demand, the ASEAN boom.
The Association of Southeast Asian Nations.
Yes, we're talking Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Brunei. The document points to an absolute tidal wave of investment happening there right now.
It's massive.
They are aggressively building LNG infrastructure, developing a localized hydrogen economy, and creating these massive smart industrial parks. Why this specific region?
Geographically and economically, ASEAN is the perfect storm for this transition.
How so?
You have critical global shipping choke points, like the Malacca Strait,
Oh,
meaning any shift to autonomous shipping or new marine fuels has to happen there first, practically speaking. You also have a rapidly expanding middle class demanding more baseline power.
so demand is skyrocketing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you combine that with immense capital flowing in to build green infrastructure from scratch, rather than just retrofitting century-old grids like we see in Europe or North America.
That makes total sense. It's an infrastructure gold rush. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Good.
As I was reading about this incredible high-tech AI-driven future centered in Southeast Asia, I looked at the actual operational and legal terms of the IndustryMATCH platform itself,
Uh-huh.
and I found something deeply contradictory and honestly kind of hilarious.
Really? What stood out to you?
Well, the platform notes standard legalities. It holds candidate data for 12 months. It adheres to the PDPA, the Personal Data Protection Act.
Pretty standard privacy stuff.
Yeah. It outlines an SLA, a service level agreement of 5 to 7 working days for processing, all very standard. But we just spent the last 15 minutes talking about AI-powered offshore wind feasibility, smart grids, and digital voodoo dolls predicting the future, right?
The absolute bleeding edge of human innovation, yes.
Right. Yet according to their own service menu, payment for this highly advanced AI assessment is handled entirely offline by Think Plus administration.
Wait, offline?
Yes. And it gets better. If a candidate wants proof of their AI score, they can request a signed PDF report on physical Think Plus Academy letterhead sent to them for an extra RM30 or about $8.
Wow, that is a stark contrast.
It's absurd. You are paying offline, likely via a bank transfer, to request a physical, hand-signed piece of corporate letterhead to validate an artificial intelligence's assessment of your ability to manage a hydrogen fuel cell.
You know, this raises an important question about where heavy industry is culturally right now.
What do you mean?
Well, industry, by its very nature, deals with life-threatening physical forces. Because of that, it still relies heavily on verifiable, traditional authority.
You mean the psychological comfort of a signed piece of paper?
Exactly. Even as the sector completely embraces cutting-edge AI screening to handle massive data loads, the final proof of competence, the document an engineer might slide across a desk at a final interview or present to a Port Authority inspector, it still needs to carry the analog weight of a physical signature on official letterhead.
That is fascinating.
It is a perfect microcosm of an industry in transition. You have one foot stepping into the digital twin future, and the other foot planted firmly in the bureaucratic paper trail past.
It really grounds the whole science fiction narrative in very mundane reality. Behind every sleek, predictive AI dashboard, there's an administrative team processing offline payments and printing certificates. So to pull all of these threads together for you listening, what the source material ultimately proves is that surviving the modern industrial job market absolutely requires passing an AI gatekeeper.
You have to optimize for the 60% rule.
Yes, and you have to understand the specific acronyms the machine is hunting for.
We've also established that traditional energy sectors aren't collapsing. Oil, gas, and refining are actively evolving, performing incredibly complex decommissioning, and funding the infrastructure for the green transition.
And that transition is accelerating rapidly. Green tech is no longer a niche, feel-good sector. It is fundamentally rewriting engineering, marine logistics, and manufacturing, especially in geographical hotbeds like the Eastern region.
Right.
Whether you are a deepwater driller or an ESG data scientist, your career is now tied to digital integration.
But, if we connect all this back to the very beginning, to the AI screening your resume, there was a final lingering implication we have to consider.
Ooh, okay. What is it?
We know platforms like IndustryMATCH are deploying algorithms to scan CVs, looking for that flawless 60% compliance match.
Right.
But we also know that candidates today are increasingly deploying their own AI tools to write and optimize those very same CVs to perfectly mimic what the gatekeeper wants to see.
Oh, wow. So candidates are using AI to beat the AI.
Exactly. So the question becomes, are we rapidly entering an era where human hiring in these critical sectors is essentially just two algorithms negotiating with each other in the dark?
That is, wow.
The candidate's AI perfectly formats the BOSIET certification, and the recruiter's AI perfectly extracts it. If that is the new standard, what does that actually mean for how we define and measure human skill moving forward?
When the machines are the ones doing all the talking, what is left for the humans to say? That is an incredible thought to take with you. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the algorithms and stay curious.